Hi all, welcome back to the desktop publishing unit. I've put this down as lesson 1 because the last lesson was an introductory lesson to Google Drawings. We didn't fully explain desktop publishing, so that's why this is lesson 1, where I'll explain desktop publishing and why it is used and what we will be doing with it in the S2 graphic communication course. Hopefully you enjoyed the last lesson with the introductory to Google Drawings. From what I saw, most of you, or pretty much everyone, was managing to grasp how to use Google Drawings, which is excellent to see. So today, the learning intention is to make you aware of desktop publishing and where it is used. By the end of the lesson, you must be able to discuss the advantages of desktop publishing and be familiar with some of the terminology. You should be able to discuss why the demographic of a magazine is important, and you could gain an understanding of how some principles when designing a magazine cover is important to follow. Okay, so you will hopefully remember me saying last week that we're going to design a magazine cover in this desktop publishing unit. The plan is to use Zara to design the magazine cover. However, we want to introduce you to a lot of different types of terminology used with desktop publishing over the next few lessons that we'll be able to do at home using Google Drawings, so that when we get back into school, we should be able to go straight on to the magazine design cover using Zara, which is a better package. Okay. So, why do we use desktop publishing? I want you to think about what you learned last year using Zara and desktop publishing. I want you to pause the video and think why we use desktop publishing. Why is it important? I'll pause the video just now, but I want you to pause and have a wee think for maybe 60 seconds or so. So, hopefully you've come up with some ideas why desktop publishing is important, why we use it, and here are some reasons. Where's my cursor? There it is. So text and graphics can be imported electronically from remote locations around the world. So you can take different graphics, different text from anywhere in the world, and use it in your publication. The time it takes to design and publish a document is greatly reduced. Once you learn how to use a desktop publishing package, it is much quicker than sitting down and designing and publishing a document by pen and paper. It's a lot easier on the computer. And this can be because you can modify your desktop publishing publication much quicker using the editing tools that are available to you on the desktop publishing package. You can also make layouts and construct them accurately using grid, guidelines, snap, align, scale, rotate, and crop functions. And these are different commands and tools that you'll be introduced to either this lesson or in the coming weeks at some point. Okay, you have already had a look at cropping functions already, but you'll be introduced to these different functions and commands over the next few weeks. And files can be sent electronically using email to the editor or client for approval. So if you were actually a graphic designer using the desktop publishing packages, you will be able to send your publications to a client, to an editor, to your boss, whoever is wanting to have a look at it around the world, much quicker than having to post it or get carrier pigeon to take it across the seas. So it's a much easier, much faster bits of software, depending on the software you're using, and it makes life much more simple once you get the hang of it. Okay, so in this unit you'll be introduced, or you'll be using Zara, as I've mentioned. At the moment we're going to be using Google Drawings, unfortunately, thanks COVID. And with your knowledge about color theory and layout, you'll be able to produce a magazine cover for one of the following publications. You have to pick one of the 4 publications: Vogue magazine, hopefully you've heard of that, Dig BMX magazine, Homes and Gardens magazine, or NME magazine. We'll have a look at these later, and you'll have a bit of time to research the different magazines. But first we shall look at the term demographic followed by some example covers from these magazines to gain an impression of their style and some of the design features they use. Okay, so demographic. What does the word demographic mean? It's a particular sector of a population often used within the context of marketing and sales. So, thinking of drinks, a drink, you might think that the drink is popular with a young demographic, therefore, you're going to aim the drink at whatever's cool and popular for young people at that time, so that young people will want to buy that product. And that is what demographic is. It's looking at whatever sector of the population prefers whatever the product is that you're selling. So all magazines are marketed with a demographic in mind. When you're designing your cover, you should make choices about graphics, color scheme, fonts and layouts based on the demographic you think your chosen magazine is aimed at. Okay? Consider the image your layout conveys and whether this is suitable for the publication. So, for example, if you pick the Home and Gardens magazine and you have a really colourful, fun, lively magazine cover, it might not be suited for the demographic that you're aiming for. Okay, the Home and Gardens magazine tends to be a more formal, relaxed publication. But if you have it lively and really exciting for young people, for teenagers and things, the demographic doesn't really line up there. So you really need to consider what it is that you're looking at. So now we're going to look at some examples. Vogue is a clothing brand magazine, okay, and it tends to look at famous models. They tend to have famous models in the front of it. It could also look at different things throughout the magazine, music or whatever, but it tends to be with fashion. Vogue, okay, a fashion magazine. NME stands for New Music Entertainment, and it's to do with different bands, new music that is available or out at that time. Okay, so Vogue, fashion, NME, music. Let's not let me move on. Dig is a BMX magazine, sometimes featuring some skateboarding. So if you're into that extreme sports, Dig is for you. Okay, and then we have Country Home, which is the home and garden magazine. As I said, it's a lot more sort of formal and relaxed, full of lots of pictures of country homes in it. So the difference between extreme sports and home and gardens magazine is quite different there. Okay, so those are your four different choices of magazine: Vogue, NME, Dig, and the Country Home magazine. Okay. So now what I want you to do is open up the Google Drawings publication that I've shared with you on Google Classroom called Exercise 1. What I want you to do is research these four different magazines. I want you to bring in an image or your favorite magazine cover of those four different magazines. So if I come up here, remember you can insert image. You can either go to insert, and then you can go to image, search from the web, or you can simply just do it from this button here, insert image, search from the web. Remember, with this video, you can stop, pause, rewind, play again, any part or the video at any point you want to do so. If you get lost or you feel like you're falling behind, then just stop the video and catch up. That's the best thing to do, the best advice I can give you so that you're keeping up with me, okay? So at this stage, what I want you to do is click on this button, search the web, and you can search for a magazine, these magazine covers. So Vogue was the first one. I'll type in Vogue magazine cover. Let's go with this. If it doesn't come up with lots of options, which it isn't here, then what you might want to do is just use Google Images and bring in an image instead. I'm going to use this image, insert. I'll bring in this image. I'm going to make it a bit smaller. This is Vogue. But I want you to stop the video here and go away and do this yourself. You're looking for Vogue, you're looking for NME, you're looking for Dig, and you are looking for Country Home magazine cover examples. So could you do that just now, please? So by now you should have four different magazine covers on your page. Here are my 4 examples. You can move them about and try and line them up with one another if you really want, but you don't have to at this stage, because we will be looking at something later on in this lesson to support you with aligning things better. Okay, so if we go back to the PowerPoint, there is a video called How to Design a Cover. So in this next slide, it says there's a video clip. You can click on this link. It'll take you to a video clip on how to design a cover. It is full of good points, excellent points on how to design a good magazine cover. And it says after this clip, you'll have to note down as many tips as possible. So pay attention. 2 minutes. You will have 2 minutes to write down all the tips you can remember. Okay. So at this stage, what I want you to do is open up the video clip link. It'll take you to a YouTube video, and I want you to just open up a blank Google Doc, and I want you to just write down as many tips as you can remember. So if I click on this, it'll take me up here. This is the video, and then I would like you to please stop. Just open up a blank Google document. You can come to my drive, new, and Google Docs. Okay, make a blank one, and you can write down as many tips as you can remember. Watch the video. It's a 6-minute video. It is excellent. It will fly by. I'm sure you'll love it. And it does explain how to make a magazine cover really well. Okay, so stop the video, do that just now, and then replay the video once you have watched the video and written down as many tips as you can remember. Okay, so by now you should have watched the video clip and written down as many tips as you can remember. This is a reminder for anyone that has not written down as many tips as you can remember. Stop the video now and write down those tips. For those of you who have, remember to write down the tips. Well done. What we'll do now is move on to the next stage. So what we're going to talk about now is alignment. You might remember this from last year when you were looking at the desktop publishing unit in first year. Alignment and why it's so important, how it's so important, how do we use it, why do we use it, etc., etc. So proper alignment in a design means that every element in it is usually visually connected to another element if desired. What you'll remember is if you put an imaginary line down the middle of a poster or publication, there tends to be alignment around that imaginary middle line. Here, someone has used a guideline, and you can see that everything tends to be mirrored either side of this line. Everything is lined up with this middle line in this poster. Okay, the wee man, the rock's either side, the writing. So alignment is extremely important. Here we can see the other guidelines that have been used to support this poster for 127 hours. Good film. So it's important that you're following either imaginary guidelines or real guidelines to align your poster up to make it look better, to make it stand out. It is extremely important. Here we have imaginary lines lining all this up. The different text will line up, if you can imagine all the imaginary lines going amongst it. And alignment makes the layout cohesive. Nothing feels out of place or disconnected when alignment has been handled well. With this Midsummer Night Masquerade ticket, the alignment here is just a simple imaginary middle line. But if you line things up, left alignment or right alignment, and align each text in paragraph individually, then it has a better layout. Okay, if you can imagine all the imaginary lines between them, it looks better, it stands out better, it's more effective than just simply having it all following the one line. Okay, so are there lines usually invisible between any or all elements in a layout, not just text? There tends to be, there always is. You have the edge alignment where the outer edges of elements align. Okay, these outer imaginary lines, and center alignment where the center of the elements align. And the alignment can be between graphics and the layout boundary, the edge of the page itself. Okay, and you can have these guidelines to support you with the edge of the page. You can actually use the edge of the page to support you with alignment, which you will have seen in that video of the magazine cover, and the guy using the bleed tool and helping with using the edge of the page. And you can apply it to text in different ways. You can use within text boxes, for example, left align, justified, whatever. This is justified here, these two different paragraphs. You can use between the text box as a whole and other graphics. You can line up with different graphics. Your text boxes, these are lined up, these boxes, with the right or left of the text, or between a single word or letter and other graphics. And you'll see this as the more you research and look at different magazine covers, you'll see how these, all the fonts and all the text can be aligned. But what I want to do now is stop this video and I'll take you on to the next exercise. So the next thing I want to do is talk about guidelines. Here in this poster or publication, you can see these guidelines, the very light bluish, turquoisey green color. Those are guidelines. I want to show you how to use guidelines. We brought in these different images of the magazine covers and we were aligning them. But what you could do, here's an example that I made previously, is put in guidelines to really support how things are laid out on your page. And I'll show you how to add guidelines to your Google Drawings publication just now. I'm going to try and do this as quick as I can. So feel free to pause and go back and watch anything I do if you can't see how to do it. Just pause and go back and you'll be able to see it. Okay, but I want to try and get through this as quick as I can so we don't go past our lesson time. So what you can do is you can come up to View in Google Drawings. Remember all these different tabs. View has the option for Guides. You can then show the guides. You can add guides, horizontal or vertical. You can edit the guides or you can delete them. Show guides. Here we go. So we've just got two basic guides, the center, vertical and horizontal line. So if I go back to View, Guides, I can edit these guides. What I want to do, first of all, it tells you where they're positioned on the page. But what I want to do is color these guides, make them both red, because these are the guides that are in the center that we'll be using to draw our next guidelines in. So by now you should have two red lines, one in the center of the page horizontal and one in the center of the page vertical. And notice that although I thought these publications were lined up, this one's quite close to the center, so I'm going to have to pull it down, etc. If we have the guidelines, you don't need to worry about it, and it will support. Okay, so to add in these guidelines, what you can do, or the other guidelines, go back to View, Guides, and you can add in vertical or horizontal guides. You can also go to Edit Guides and then just add a new guide. If we're adding the vertical guides, if you add new guide, I'll come in here, 13.12, and I click Done. There it is there. That's the next guide, the next guideline. So if I go back up, View, Guidelines, Edit Guidelines, you can change the position. Let's just shove in here, I don't know, actually 16, not 6, 16. Done. Look where it moves to. It moves along. So you can then reposition. I'm going to add in another one, add new guide, and if you put it a lower number than 12.7, it should go to the left. So let's go with 5. Done. And yep, there it goes to the left, and it's got another guideline there. So what I'm going to do is add in the vertical guides now. And what I want you to do is have guide 2, guide 3. I want 3 guides to the left and 3 guidelines to the right of the middle line. So we'll need 7 lines in total, because you have the middle guideline and then 3 to the left, 3 to the right. That makes the 7. What I want to do is just have the left guidelines at the moment. So I've put in 4 guidelines. We've got the middle one. Don't edit that, please. Should be at 12.7. Should be red. You can then have these 3 guidelines. I'm going to add them all to the left, and I'm going to split them up. I'm not going to bore you with the maths. You can just put in the numbers. Hopefully you'll understand the maths. If I put the first one to 9.7, the next one to 6.7, and the next one to 3.7, I have split up 3 lines to the left by dividing 3 by 12 or whatever, and there we go. If I click Done, there are the guidelines to the left, and I can now line up this Vogue magazine cover between these lines. Okay, just like that. You've got the center of it, the left and right. And now what I want to do is add in the guidelines to the right. So I'm going to have to add in another 3. 1, 2, 3. And what I can do is add in these lines to the other side. So instead of 12.7 or whatever it is here, I'm going to have 15.7. I'm going to have 18.7. And I'm going to have 21.7. Done. And there you go. You have it on this side as well. That's all equal with the vertical guidelines. Now we need to add in the horizontal guidelines. So when you're adding in guidelines, you can have it all mathematically calculated, or you can have whatever looks good. So I'm going to just add in guidelines here that look good for the horizontal guidelines. You can add in your own if you want, or you can just follow me for the purpose of understanding guidelines. Okay. So the first horizontal guideline is obviously 9.53. It's red. It's in the middle there. That's the horizontal one. I'm going to add 3 below and 3 on top. I'm going to start with the lines on top. So I'm going to just make the first one 8. I'm going to make the next one 3.53. And I'm going to make the next one 0.53. Again, this is not mathematically calculated. I'm just putting them in these positions. I'm then going to add in the 3 for below. I'm going to set them to 11. I'm going to set this one to 15.53. And then the last line, I'm going to set it to 18.53. Again, if you want, you can make them your own. But for the purpose of this lesson, I'm just making these guidelines like this. What I can now do is fit these magazine cover examples into these different guidelines. And now, if I go back up to view, guides, click on show guides to remove them. There we go. It's all perfectly aligned on the page. It looks good. It's all symmetrical. And we have used guides to help our alignment. And now they've been turned off. People think you've used imaginary lines and you're a graphic designer pro. We've just used guidelines to support us. Okay. So the next part of the lesson is looking at unity. We've looked at alignment. Let's have a look at unity and what unity is, why we use it, what's so good about it. Okay, so designers use unity to make elements in a composition appear to belong together. Here are some examples. By treating separate elements in the same way visually, we create a visual relationship between them. For example, you can have color, shape, typeface, size, whatever it is. For this example here, you've got the different diamond shapes. The ones that are grey are of the image, and the ones that are green are of the brand. Okay, so grey image, green brand, and that way you know the difference between the two different elements on the page. And when each element has a clear visual relationship to one or more other elements, the composition is unified. When unity is achieved, we have a composition that does not become cluttered or confusing. A concept can be communicated more clearly, and a design evokes a sense of quality and organization. You want that organization. You want things to be communicated clearly. You don't want it cluttered. You don't want it confusing. You want to make sure that it is unified well. So unity can apply to any type of element in the layout and between different types of elements, even between separate layouts with a shared purpose or branding. Okay, any variable which is treated the same or repeated. Here we have fonts, the titles, the same font and same color. So you know the heading or title is, or that is a heading or title because it's the same color and the same font. When there's numbers used, they are a sort of greeny blue color. When it's just the body of text, it's just simple black font text. So you can have color scheme, you can have sort of variables or unity between font and typeface. You can have unity with sizes. You can have unity with shapes and symbols, as we saw in the previous example. You can have unity with position and proximity, where things are laid out, where they're moved to. If things are all put together, then you'll know it's related. If the other side of the page it's not related. And you can also have alignment as a principle. It does contribute to unity when things are aligned in a certain way. You know that they're all related. And it's not the same as harmony. Unity can include contrast. Okay, you can have contrasting things to really stand out from one another. So here are some examples of unity. Again, we have fonts, different font colors, different font sizes. You can have the same font and color for the name of the designer. And in this red box, you know you're going to have information. Look at the position of this text. It's the same on each page. So you know where the body of text is, that unity. Okay, and here all the headings are blue. The body of text is aligned in a similar way. That is creating unity. Okay, so that's us at the end of this lesson. However, there is one more exercise that I want you to do, and this will take you up to the end of the lesson. Okay, and the next exercise I want you to do is obviously going to be on exercise 2, which I have shared with you on Google Classroom. What I am wanting you to do is, I just had to remind myself what it was. I want you to do is bring in your favourite example from this, from the examples that you put in exercise 1. It could be the same magazine cover that you're going to do, as in you might think, oh, I'm going to do NME. You might want to take the NME magazine cover and use that for exercise 2. You might think, actually, I'm going to use Vogue. It's entirely up to you what you want to use for this next exercise. We're going to be looking at unity and we're going to be looking at alignment. So I'll take the Vogue cover for this example. I was thinking about using the NME one. Here's an example of what we were wanting to do, but I'll use the Vogue one and you'll have 2 examples from this video. So if I enlarge the Vogue cover, not too much, a bit smaller, we can now have a look at this. What I want you to do, using the line tool that we learned how to use last day, I want you to draw lines to show where the alignment relationship is. For example, all the way down the side here, you have left alignment. With all of these, I'm going to change the color to white, and I'm going to make it a wee bit thicker so it stands out. Escape. There we go. So you can see everything is in a line here down the left-hand side of the page. That is the exact same, if I do it again, down the right side of the page, believe it or not. Okay, and this time it includes the barcode. Okay, they have also lined up the barcode down the bottom right of the page. There. Where else is there alignment? There is alignment. Context tool, line tool. There's alignment here, the top of these 2 titles. Where else is there alignment? Maybe the bottom of this to the top of that there. Yep, there's alignment. Okay, so start thinking about where everything is lined up. Where else is there alignment? The top of this along to the barcode. That wasn't exactly straight, but I'm doing this as quick as I can. There'll be plenty more within this. The O of the Vogue could line up with the text on the page as well. There could be this U here lines up here with the H. So there's lots of different examples of alignment here. I want you to do this. Spend a bit more time than I have using the line tool to show where there are imaginary lines on the page. So in the other example here, I've done it again, showing where there's alignment throughout the page. So do that just now, please. Pause the video and you can do that. And the next thing I want you to do is think about unity. Where have they used unity? And you can just add in a text box, add in a line. Where's unity for all these titles? I can make you black now. they have used white, so I'll just put white for subheadings, white font color for subheadings, and you can, if you want, copy and paste this about the page, wherever this has been used, for example, down here and over here, etc. What else have they done? They have also added in, here it says Rosie Huntington Whiteley, how to dress the Prime Minister's wife, where there's just simple headings, subheadings that don't have any further explanation. It tends to be this sort of orangey gold colour, so you could write that in. What else have they done on the page? They have put things together. So you know that this is all related, you know that's related, this is related, these bits are related, these bits are related. So you can write that in. Any sort of unity that you can see from what we have in the PowerPoint color scheme, font, size, shapes, proximity, alignment, you can write that down. Okay. Let's have a look at this exercise here. I've also said main headings are white with white font with red background. They're using the same sort of font for different subheadings. This yellow contrasts with the background, but you want that to stand out. Tony Visconti's Guide to the Next Day Extra, I can't speak or read. Here is blue. Blue contrasts with the red. So again, they want this exclusive to stand out. Write all these things in, and by the end, you should have a page that has a bit of information going around it. And you should have the white lines as well, showing alignment. And that's it. That's the two tasks that I want you to do today. That's the end of the lesson. That should take us up to the 50-minute lesson time. Okay, any questions, please do ask your teacher. Ask me, Mr. Haig. Don't hesitate to contact me. Hopefully everything makes sense and everything works for you. Okay. As I said, the two exercises will be on the Google Classroom attached with the video and the PowerPoint. And just watch this video and stop, play, repeat anything that you want to when you want to. Okay, thanks. Hope everyone's well. Speak to you soon.